Okay. Yeah. Good morning. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So welcome you back. So we start with the second day of the workshop with a lecture. We have two lectures in before lunch. The first one will be delivered by Professor Archana Barua, and the lecture is titled as Understanding Satya through Ahimsa, a Gandhian approach to the reconstruction of meaning through deconstruction. So now, as you know, this lecture assumes importance because currently this year we are celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So the government of India has decided to disseminate the thoughts of Gandhian philosophy to in various scientific presentations, conferences, symposia, workshop, and this is a part of that. So regarding the speaker, Professor Archana Barua is a professor at IIT Guwahati. Her research interest lies in areas such as phenomenology and continental philosophy, philosophy of value, ethics, aesthetics, feminist philosophy, Indian philosophy, Gandhian philosophy, and philosophy of religion. Her special expertise lies in philosophy of culture and religions of Northeast India, with special research interest in the Vaishnavism of the medieval Bhakta saints and Mahapurush Shankradeva. So with this, I'll invite Professor Archana Barua to start the proceedings.
Okay, very good morning to all of you. And I take this pleasure, it's my pleasure, and I am thankful to the organizers of the Spark workshops, Spark sponsored workshop, that I am asked to share with you some ideas on thoughts and ideals of Mahatma Gandhi. As you know, we are dedicating these talks on the occasion of 150th birth anniversary of the Mahatma. And so, with that tribute to this great spirit, I wish you all the best that the remaining part of your workshop continues the way it began yesterday. Okay, then, so as you know, my theme, because I teach philosophy, and philosophy is something which is, although we all are philosophers, but philosophy as a discipline will be, so it will be basically introducing you to some of the common ideas which you all are familiar, like what is Satya and Ahimsa, non-violence and truth. So this is the core theme of Gandhian philosophy. And therefore, I will begin of my lecture with understanding Satya as Ahimsa and also deconstruction of meaning and reconstruction. That you will know that with Gandhi's innovative ideas, the old tradition and its vast wisdom of the Indian tradition, which is composite and multifaceted culture, it was again reintroduced with new innovations. And therefore, Gandhi basically said that let noble ideas come from all the world, all over other civilizations, so that our horizons can be widened, but at the same time, we also be firmly rooted in our own context. So basically, when we begin Gandhi, it is like my religion is based on truth and non-violence. And therefore, we have to know what is non-violence and truth in Gandhi. And so for this, how in today's difficult circumstances, when we all are We cannot be so absolutely, so firmly saying that this is what I am committed to. So what made Gandhi the Mahatma he is? So we have to know his contributions, reformative years, and there we find that Mahatma Gandhi's he was born, his parents Karamchand Gandhi and mother Putlibai, and these are also very strong influences in his formative years. That Putlibai was very a pious lady, and she, and as every traditional household, Gandhi's household was also, it was busy with having different celebrations, different pujas, different functions, and also host to many others. It is not Gandhi's own family, but there are many others from the society obligations, other obligations. So Gandhi grew up in this sharing atmosphere of not only individual, my own family kind of thing. It is like family became wider concept. So when in the age of, because it was, the tradition was that Gandhi was in the 13 years, early marriage time. So it was with arranged marriage with Kastuba. And that is how he began his, and because of his Jain influence and other spiritual austerity kind of influence in the family, when Gandhi was to go for abroad and other places, he had to commit to his promise to his mother that he will not touch alcohol, he will remain Puritan, all these things. And therefore, those remain Gandhi's vows. But for Satya, as you know, the young Gandhi, like anyone, any normal average young boy, Gandhi also grew up. He was fragile and thin and weak health. So naturally, at that age, when you have strong fascination for in your schoolmates, you have strong fascination for someone who looks healthy and a very strong kind of leader type of, like who is daredevil kind of thing. And so in the school, Gandhi has secret admiration for some such leaders because he was very fragile and thin and weak. So he thought these are the strong people, and he silently admired those boys. And one day he shared with them that because of his, he also wants to imitate, become like them. And then they said that you are vegetarian and you just, you have to be strong, so you have to learn taking meat. And also, if you don't have money, you can steal, because those are daredevil kind of schoolboys. So Gandhi tried to imitate. And being a very truthful and very pious, honest family, he stole some money from his father, so, without father's knowledge. And he had meat because he wanted to be strong. And then this falsehood in him, because his father was ill and dying stage. So Gandhi could not, you see, this conflict in him that he lied, he was keeping it secret. So he decided it needed tremendous courage on his part, a small Gandhi, and he decided to share this truth with his father. And this act of telling the truth, he wrote few pages to his father, confessing all his guilt, including stealing money and breaking the vegetarian and not taking meat, all this. And he saw his father tears, and he forgave Gandhi. Forgave because Gandhi told the truth. And that was the first taste of Gandhi's Satya, act of telling the truth. He felt so relieved and he became a transformed, he repentance. He tried to not to hurt his parents' feelings again, and there emerged as a child Gandhi, the transformation and the power of Satya. And that power remained throughout, as you know, till the India's independence and later. So the saving grace of Satya, it is not new with Gandhi. It is in the Indian tradition. We have, I quote this story from Henry Jamer's The Myths and Parables of India. And here there is a story. You know, India is full of monks and sadhus and holy men. And usually the common people, they believe if you are a spiritually enlightened person, or you are a monk, or you are a godlike person, you can perform miracles. So even Buddha also, they come expecting miracles. Although Buddha says, I am not a god man of that kind. But then this youth, Yogadatta, who had been bitten by a poisonous snake, and his parents brought him to this holy man. And they said, monk, you are supposed to be a godman, and our son who died of this snake bite, and you make him live again, because you can perform miracles. And he said, I cannot perform any miracle. They said, no, you holy man, you have some power. He says, the only power I have is the power of the act of telling the truth. Satya has a power. So this Satya is not my own individual Satya. This Satya should be, we all will be a collaborative act of telling the truth. And you as parents, you have your own truths. You have your own secrets. Now you share your truth. You be truthful to yourself. And then together we will perform a yajna of saving, bringing life to your dead son. So the father is asked to, first the monk began, and he said, although apparently I wear this dress of my monk's dress, inside I am not that generous and monk-like. So that was his secret. And therefore the monk said, that is my secret, because I have told my secret about weakness, about me, that I am different from what I appear to be. And by this act of truth, let Jagannatha live. So Jagannatha have some limbs moved. Then the father started to tell the truth, and father said, okay, I have a secret that I apparently appear to be very hospitable when people come, guests come and all. But actually I do not like people coming and visiting my place, taking my wife sharing tea and other things. I actually do not like this. And so this is my truth. Then half lived Jagannatha. Then to make him full, now the mother has to tell a story. And the mother says, I have one secret. But she told her husband, I cannot tell it in front of you because it is related to you. He said, anyway, it may pain me, but then you come with your truth. Our son, let him live. So the mother said, for but a week, I loved the holy, this mother's secret was, no more my son do I know, here the snake malignant, that out of a crevice came and beat you. Then I do your father. By this truth held, poison is struck down, let Jagannatha live. The malignant snake which beat you is so enemy, I hate him. But even at times your father himself is torturing me, you see, and I cannot express that. So with this truth, let you live. So immediately all the poison came out because the act of telling the truth, the power of truth, and the son lived. And Jimard concludes that this is a story of a text of the layers of falsehood in the tradition accumulated. In the families, you see the Hippocratic relations, apparently everything is okay, but inside the relations became strained, or some of the suppressed ideas or beliefs which could not be shared, killed the son, which was like the next generation, the future, our tomorrow. Our tomorrow can die if we build a home or a nest on the dead ideas of pretensions. We have another story in this line. So here truth has to come. We have another story in the Indian tradition of Nachiketa, who was also not happy with the father's hypocrisy. When the father was about to sacrifice something which is very precious to him because of the charity to the Brahmins, and the father gave the old cow, which was a part of the family, but now because of old, of good for nothing, so he gave for sacrifice. And when Nachiketa asked why you are giving this as sacrifice, he said, because I like this cow is a part of my family, so dear to me. I have to give something which is dear to me, the gift. Nasikata, the young man who is not hypocrite, and he asked his father, Father, why you are telling lies? Because I am your son, and I am your most dearest anyone on earth. If you have to give anyone on charity or a gift, give me your most dearest possession. And this cow, which served us so long, and now because old, you are just getting rid of the cow. So the later story follows. Father has to become angry because repeatedly Nasikata was telling, and he says, "Okay, I give you to Yama, god of death." And Nasikata goes and in search of Yama. And in the Mahabharata, Ramayana also, you see Rama. Quest of truth of Dasaratha gave truth to Kaikeyi of Banabasa, and so Rama has to fulfill it. So we find in this line Gandhi, and before Gandhi we have Yudhishthira, which I'll come later. Yudhishthira, who was in the Mahabharata, did dharma incorrect. So in Indian, the Brahmins who were supposed to be Navagun with 9 virtues, these were fallen. They could not remain that true. But one thing remained, which was the identity of telling the truth, came to be identified with the tradition. And later we had other kinds like Astika and Nastika darshanas, which will elaborately, I will come to you to later with deconstruction of Gandhi's meaning on Satya. So Satya became the firm foundation for Gandhi, and the act of saving power. It's not Satya as abstract Satya, but also it is an act of telling the truth. As I say, speaking the truth as it has a power to fight disintegration, fight assault. So that was Gandhi's main weapon. And Mahatma also was influenced in his Satyagraha. Already we had the idea of Rita, of the cosmic law, the change of seasons, the days follow night, everything without fail. It continues like a machine, like a system. This is the Rita, law of Rita. No one can break it. But this Rita is also governed by another law, which is moral law, which is a dharma. And Rita and dharma together is supposed to be hated by a god, because Hindu mythology is full of gods, but one particular god who was Varuna. Varuna was the lord of moral and also of Rita. So Varuna says, we have fallen, and there are many interesting hymns in the Rig Veda. Varuna acts in consultation with Mitra, two gods. Varuna is for law of morality, and Mitra is for executing it. So there will be these gods who will be supervising the moral domain, and because Varuna is identified with water, transparency. So people, whenever they are seen, they are just suffering mentally, or they are just guilty. They say it is the pasa of Varuna. Varuna is binding because we cannot hide anything. My falsehood, my guilt, Varuna saw, so it is a punishment. And therefore, so I say binding, we mean that existentially we have fallen from the Rita. And therefore, the Varuna, the king of the universe, who lives in the highest heaven, he has 1,000 eyes, therefore we cannot hide anything, and therefore he is the lord of the moral. And also the beyond the scope of skies and moral law encompassing both Rita and Satya. So he alone can bestow peace. He will be peaceless. And there was also the story of Vedapasha, who composed Bhagavad Puran. And Vyasa was the arranger of all the Vedas, but he was not getting peace of mind. And therefore he has to change his perspective. He had to preach non-violence. And therefore the Bhagavad Puran came mostly as a Bhagavad Gita. Again, you will see that changes in perspectives are coming. Yajna is no longer a yajna of sacrifices, that it's coming of your own pursuit to be sacrificed for the sake of your rebirth in a Dija, which will be man in spirit. born out of man of beast, which was taken literally earlier. Now the time has come with the Upanishads, with the introspection or more reflection on the human and the compassionate side of the universe. And here we see the Rig Vedas that Varuna, whatever, is the. So these I am telling you in the background of Gandhi. And Gandhi was also, he combined, because he says so many influences in his life, but he says the Bhagavad Gita is my mother life. Because here again we see the change, because Buddhist influence was also there with middle part of Ahimsa, and Jainism coming with non-violence, because Jainism became so austerity-wise, it's like non-hingsa, non-violence, therefore it's more emphasis on negative. Do not violence against abstinence from violence. So abstinence from violence became like, even they will non-injury, and they will not go for even agriculture, because unseen creatures may be killed, and even today's COVID time, even germs and all also may be Jainism, all life is sacred, so there will be some not easily allowed to kill life. So Buddha made it middle part. See, like, and with Gandhi, we saw non-violence, not only of non-injury, but also, even if I send you a letter and you do not reply to that letter, means you are doing violence, you are disregarding, you are ignoring my welcoming. I wanted to be friendly with you, and you just indifferent to me. You rejected me. That is also violence to my image, my personhood. So Gandhi will have all these innovative ideas of reconstruct. Bhagavad Gita already did niskama karma, that you don't have to be a renouncer, but you do your work in the best yoga, karma, yoga sukusalam, and the best of the spirit. So ahimsa parama dharma. Now with Satya, Satya already had the tradition, the power of truth. Now with ahimsa parama dharma, which I said, Yudhishthira, who became the dharma incarnate, he uttered this. And Yudhishthira, again with ahimsa, he never told lies. Only once he said one half lie. That was to his guru Drona's son, who was killed in Asastama. And because Drona didn't believe anyone, and he said Yudhishthira never lies, so he asked, let me confirm with Yudhishthira, is it Asastama who died? Asastama. And Yudhishthira said loudly, Asastama hata. Yes, it is Asastama. Then they half lie. So very, very slowly he said, whispering type, he said, Kintu ite gaza, but it is an elephant. There was an elephant named Asastama that died. And so first line was enough, and Drona already fainted. And so that was the dharma for Yudhishthira. Gandhi also had the Vaishnava Jana, they made it Sandesa. So Vaishnava Jana is not only of Vaishnava, but of everywhere, whoever is a kind, compassionate, and of sharing, and para dukkhesu dukkhe, who is suffering because others are suffering, who is not happy because others are hungry. So that kind of kindred spirit is called Vaishnava Jana. He is the real believer of God. So that inspired Gandhi. Gandhi was also inspired by Tolstoy. Again, another, you find God in humanity. And Tolstoy's great influence on Gandhi. Then Kingdom of God is within you, Tolstoy, and War and Peace. He had the American pragmatic tradition of Henry David Thoreau, do it yourself, of that pragmatism, and Gandhi with Charkha and all. He already did it. Like when you have Satya with Ahimsa, he also made Niskama Karma, which was do it yourself. And Gandhi imbibed many of civil disobedience and others from this American pragmatic, and others, Emerson, Thoreau, and all other sources. He says, let noble ideas come from all over the world, We should widen our horizon, but at the same time, we should not be blown up. We should have firmly rooted somewhere. That being rooted somewhere, then you can widen your windows should be open, that let light comes, but it should not come as a storm that you take away. So this dialogue, creative dialogue with the East and the West, me and others, was in Gandhi. And the charkha will have other significance, which will come later. He was vegetarian. As I said, he wanted to break it once in school, but later he became vegetarian. But this being vegetarian, you see, another thing, in Gandhi, very odd things are there. Gandhi is an odd combination of, you can say, the postmodern kind, when they said this will also do, that will also do. But Gandhi was that way a rational belief in reason. And so, because of belief in reason, whatever tradition gives him, even vegetarianism, his conscience should accept it. Why? There should be some reason why. And so this reason he got in. So when he was sent to England for law, studying law, and that time with his mother promised, Putlibai, that you will not touch alcohol, you will not touch the Western those ways which will take you away from your root. And Gandhi promised his mother. And whether he can, he even learned it. He was very particular about the dress he will wear. He wanted to be acceptable to that circle of England that time. And he learned dance steps. But yes, not touching alcohol, but he tried to imitate other things. And then vegetarianism, he got this book. He was searching badly for a vegetarian, and then suddenly he found a vegetarian group, and where he got this book, Plea for Vegetarianism, which justified his belief. It's not superstition, it can be rationally justified why he has to be. So he found great solace in this. And also, he was particularly, among the religious texts, Gandhi is very particular. Not all the, whatever is written in all religions, even the Vedas and the Upanishads, great Dharma gurus, whatever they say, he will not accept everything if it goes against his conscience of Satya and non-violence. So even more than the, he liked the Bible's, particularly Sermon on the Mount. But I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other. And if any man take away your coat, let him have the cloak too. Delighted me. This line, Gandhi found great delight in the Sermon on the Mount. And he says, I like this so much that I tried to compare it with the Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita and with Sermon on the Mount and with Vaishnava Jana of the oral folk traditions of India, where such wisdom is there everywhere, from the Baul songs to the wisdom. They will look for a very cosmopolitan dimension of universal love. All these things he tried to combine. And then what is truth? He says, I have a right to, because whatever literally is given by the traditional Dharma gurus or the scriptures, I am not literally to explain, and because sometimes there may be twisted interpretations. Even out of those Vedic texts, there were many crimes committed, like Satida and dowry date, other things. People will say, this is what Dharma says. So what is Dharma? That should be acceptable to my conscience. And no Dharma book can give something which is against humanity. And therefore he says, truth is therefore hard-veiled. And we have to, according to Yuga Dharma, because we have to, there is need for re-understanding, reinterpreting that old Dharma in light of our new expectations and new. So truth lies conceived Hiranmayana Patrena Achaditam Set. So people in the Ushas, they say you open your that Gayatri mantra and all will be that you are in a golden chariot. You come, but you gladden my heart with your warmth and illumine my grace. So here comes his deconstruction of meaning and reconstruction, very important deconstruction he will make. So long there will be Satya and Ahimsa, the two groups. Satya will be with the Astika Darshana of Indian philosophy, of Shankha, Vedanta, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Nastika will be those who do not accept the authority of the Vedas, Buddhism, Jainism, and also Sarvaka, because Sarvaka was condemned wholeheartedly because of its strong materialism. Jabat jivet sukham jivet renam kritta ghetam pibat. This was not in the as if overall ethos of Indian tradition. So Sarvaka became mostly like Nastika because it is materialist. But Buddhism and Jainism with strong spiritual inputs and strong ethics. Only Nastika is not because of its material status like Sarvaka, but because it has no affinity to it Vedic that corpus. But what we mean by the Vedas, when the Astika system says we follow the Vedas, Vedas also they will say, some will say, Sankha will say, there is no need of God, only Prakriti and Purusha will give creation. Yoga will aid God. So some can be atheists, some can be theists, some can be yoga, mimamsa, rituals, some can be jnana, some can be karma. But they said, yes, these are in the Vedas. Because Vedas is a past and the Hiranmayana Patrana, so truth will be half veiled, unveiled. So therefore it will be metaphorical and symbolic, and anyone can interpret it accordingly. So there will be atheism also in the Vedas, theism in the Vedas, many gods in the Vedas. Kasmoide Bayoho Bisadime Bidemo. That is also in the Veda, but ultimately Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka, all is one, is also in the Vedas. So here this Vedic affiliate is just like the yes, I belong to that tradition, but Buddhism and Jainism I didn't do. So here it was mostly their emphasis is mostly on practical side of ethics, of non-violence, of truth telling, power of truth telling. That was mostly with Jainism and Buddhism. So Satya became with the Astika groups. And they tried all these with Yajagga or with austerity for the moksha. That moksha dharma became Atma Gyan, Brahma Gyan. So Satya is one group, ethics is another group. Gandhi wanted to combine these two. It's a very bold, creative step of deconstruction of meaning and reconstruction with one line. Satya and Ahimsa are two sides of the same coin. He bridged the gap. You cannot just be Astika Darshana, it cannot just be Nastika Darshana there, Astika here. Both are together integral. If you go for truth, you cannot ignore ethics. If you go for religion and dharma, because God-men are supposed to be beyond good and evil. No, God-men has to be accountable to good and evil. They cannot do against the social, moral conscience. So that was his reconstruction, which I will come later again if time permits. Now, this part, I will try to show you how this was the Satyagrahi, who is a vow to truth and non-violence, because these two are now one, inseparable. You cannot go Himsa for truth. Even Himsa, again, the Sermon on the Mount, you say, love your enemy, hate your enemy is okay. Love your kinsman is okay. But love your enemy is very difficult. And this, so therefore later for a Satyagrahi, there were many different vows. Even you hate sin, not the sinner. That we'll see how Gandhi remained very firm, adamantly firm, that non-violence is not only end, but also means. You see, the 42 time of Indian freedom struggle, there were the groups who opted for violence as a means, war as a means to fight the British. So there Gandhi remained solitarily, firmly opposing that it is not only a political affiliation, it should be your own moksha or power of truth, which will be, if you side with Himsa, means you are already becoming disintegrated, because integration will be shut. And assault will be, your own part will be fragmented. Your own part will be destruction, himsa, and this cannot lead to your moksha. That way, Gandhi's Satyagrahi ideal, non-violence is the way to face the sword or the power of weapon or any Shakti, because these are the marginal groups for whom Gandhi stood. The left out groups, the weaker groups, the Sudra, who are, you see, taken for granted, their service, So humility as if comes from them, not for the others, because they are the proud possession of Shakti. They can do. Why they have to be humble? But here these are the groups, they are in service. And so they are always dominated. And here the forest dwellers and the others, when the environmental problem, now at the COVID stage, we are trying to relook our relation with nature. So long it was like an alien tourist look, how best to extract. Now as if we are kinsmen, we are part and parcel. If nature goes wrong, air becomes polluted. We do not remain the way we are. So here the forest, they followed most of India's environmental problems and all these andolans followed Gandhian way, largely influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's non-violence. And therefore the Chipko, the rural tree protector group, these are very fresh forest dwellers and villagers. They are not politically any groomed groups. They saw that tree is their Mayan, tree is, forest is give them food, and also forest is their mother. Like. So when they saw the ruthlessly cutting of the trees and all, they wanted to protect, and also as Gandhian way, non-violently, they hugged the tree and they said, you cannot cut the tree unless you cut us. So this was again Gandhi's crusader, like, we will die if you want, but we will not allow your wrong principle to prevail. So this was again, Gaura Devi's, others, Chandi Prasad Bhatt. This was again, you have Namoda Prasad, and Uttara Kannada was also the Vaishnavite sect, and others who cut the trees because they wanted to make palace, or others, contractors needed forest. So these groups, they followed Gandhian, like, you will have to cut us, you will have to kill us, then you kill the forest. And that movement became very strong in India. And also the particular trees like Sal for Bihar and Jharkhand Sagun, that was another slogan. Because there was a movement to replace those trees with the productive trees, paper producing tulip trees. And then they refused because the cosmic diversity should not be allowed to only one kind of, that monoculture was again resisted by the foresters. And also this, the environment as the landscape and the silent valley destruction, the Jungle Bachao Andolan, all these were the Gandhian. And we have parallelly, now these Gandhi and Tagore, they are not typical environmental philosopher group. They were by nature, there was a spiritual kinship with nature. And the poet, he was already inspired with that Upanishadic and the poetic vision, because for him everything is his Jivan Devata or Amritasya Putra. So everything is full of bliss. But for that bliss and joy, you need your surrounding, which is like aesthetically soothing, the environment, and which also at Santiniketan. Therefore, he says that we have become so distant from, so the festivals in his school curriculum and college curriculum, he introduced this, like Bhikkharupan, Holocaustion. These took you to close to art and cultivation, with Sriniketan and all, and with bamboo products. And also these people who produce this, they are also part of the large environment. And unless your school curriculum makes you kind and compassionate to these trees, to your surrounding, to your time of celebration when there is time for flowers bloom, and then you become dead mechanically following a routine and a school curriculum, then you become indifferent to your tree, to your surrounding, to your... So Gandhi was also called the Mahatma by Rabindranath. So they had differences otherwise, but they had core similarities. Tagore, Gandhi kind of, they come on sharing some common basic ideals, which gave shape from education to environment to political struggle. So Gandhi's wisdom to heal the corona-infected world will be nature is sending us message as per estimate, scientific assessment. Preventing the next pandemic will cost 22.2 billion a year, scientists say. So technologically, it will be huge, expensive proposition at hand. We cannot think of how much we will have to spend. Even today, per day, COVID patients. See, everything is from minimum maintenance of it is a huge expense. These are proposal at stake, and uh, particularly affected will be the marginal ones, the poor ones, and so Gandhi had always this, that with her economics, with her politics, we always the growth model, and that is not only for money's sake, only for extracting for power, for nature. Also, we are taking advantage as a he says, we nature can meet our needs, but not our greed, and greed become like more and more unsatisfactory and multiplied greed. And then when they critique Gandhi, that do you mean that we have to go to the time of bullock cart? He says, no, we have to go for that technology, that green technology, which is advancing the growth, not the destruction of the one at the cost of the other. That growth, I do not mean that. And so even in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he says money is not for the sake of economics, is not for money, but for money for something else. Money is a condition, means to an end. What is that? Happiness. So in Greek philosophy, we have that good life, eudaimonia, and when life becomes death life, becomes euthanasia. So that good life is the motive. Welfare. What is welfare? Free pollutionless air to breathe, free drinking water to drink. And if naturally, at least villagers or the rural people had that, now in the name of sick technology or other technology, you cannot pollute those waters and airs. That was Gandhian motto. And so his trusteeship model was like, we are custodians of this property. It can be collaborative. It is not competition, but it is a cooperation. So this cooperation will keep room for all. You grow, but even nature and others also let them remain healthy. Not that we poison and pollute everything for our own growth. And also the richer and the higher, the elite section, because everywhere the elite will be same. They will have their similar tastes, they will have their similar aptitudes. They will remain very insensitive to the suffering of the others. And the others who even do not have a minimum drinking water, do not have minimum breeze or road condition, or the secluded birthplace for the women, the hospitals without medicine. This is the place they understood Mahatma. Gandhi stood for them. Gandhi found his God among them. They have nothing of the privileges. They have a Ishvara, they are pious, they are still, their soul is not corrupt. So here, among these people was Gandhi's message. And these people are not like today's politics. These are not for number that I will count on their vote. Selflessly, doing service. So for religion, Gandhi again, Ahimsa and Satya became Seva. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. The enemy is fear. We think it is hate. It is fear. So Satyagraha is to conquer one's fear. Fear of what? Death. Fear of others, you see, misusing me. Let it be. Let me face death. So the crusader, the Satyagrahi, was a crusader. Then, if I face, you kill how many of us you want to kill. But one day you will have to bow down to us. Because you kill us, but there will be many more ready to say, kill us. But we will not allow the policy, wrong policy to go. He inspired many. And till now, the inspiration is on. So the soul force against it and the thousand multitude of rural. So he says India's future lies in village which needs to have clean water, which need to have others. So he worked with this. And in a sense, he was a non-Christian Christian with Bhagavad Gita, with Jainism, which is even the Shankaracharya and others, he will say, you cannot impose sati. You cannot do anything unless I will refuse to abide by any dharma guru who will say something which goes against my non-violence. So therefore, he was like a crusader. It's a mostly misunderstood, wrong understood. No one understood Gandhi, the real man who was a kind, compassionate, but the simple villagers and others always stood with him. And so he says, let me be a crusader. It is by my fetus that I can fly. It's by my sorrow that I can soar. It's by my reverses that I can run. By my tears that I can travel. By my cross that I can climb into the heart of humanity. It is like I share with you in your suffering. I take your tears with me, and together we go. So from that, the transformation of the half-naked fakir, because before coming of the Gandhi, the Indian Congress, initially it was for the elite group. With the coming of Gandhi, which is half-naked, he represented village India with that dress. And all the rural population, all the down-to-earth, the marginal ones, identified themselves with that time Congress because Gandhi was there. So his dress, everything, he represented those hungry multitudes. And so that for me would be glorious deliverance rather than I should be helpless witness to the destruction of India, Hinduism, Sikhism, and Islam, the secular India, and multitude of many faiths, and in harmony and in solidarity. Sikhs, Parsis, Christians, and Muslims of all India to live together in amity. And the 20th group of Hindu fanatics. So he had many enemies because Gandhi becoming also tolerant of Muslims, of Christians, of others. Why not a Hindu? So, because majority is Hindu, then why Gandhi is talking of secular things? Why we have to be secular when we can have our power? Gandhi says that is not what Hinduism is. And so if I am to die by the bullet of a madman, I must do so smiling. There must be no anger within me. Again, you see Gandhi as a sthita pragya, as the spiritually for his own dharma through this suffering. So the last prayer meeting of the Mahatma was assassinated by Nathuram Vinayak Godse, a Brahmin and a hardliner Hindu, on 30th January 1948. Before that also there were attempts, 2-3 time attempts of Gandhi's life, and this was third attempt when he died on the prayer Prarthana Sabha. And speaking on the radio, the Indian Prime Minister Pandit Nehru said, the father of the nation is no more. Now that the light has gone out of our lives, I do not quite know what to tell you and how to say it. Our beloved leader is no more. The following day, an enormous crowd, estimated nearly 1 million people, lined 5-mile road to funeral procession of the late Mahatma. And they cried, and with their tears, they just waited silently, tearful, to pay their last tribute. Men like him may be done to death, but their message is not silenced in the making of the century and in the making of humanity all around us. Gandhi's lasting significance lies perhaps not so much in what he actually did, but what he stood for. Men like him may be done to death, but their message is not silenced. Louis Fisher says, if man is to survive and flower in freedom, truth, and decency, the remainder of the 20th century and what lies beyond must belong not to Lenin or Trotsky, not to Marx or Mao or Ho or Jay, but to Mahatma Gandhi. And Gandhi himself says, the legacy continues. He says, you must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean doesn't become dirty. So with that, he was always his happiness, his life, his dharma was not away from humanity. Now he says, I cannot find my God in the Himalayas, away from people, away from suffering multitudes. So he was always surrounded by people, and his religion was also like to give a healing touch, that healing touch to the multitude. So if there is if there is God in service and in selfless, dedicated. Okay, so here I conclude, and it was just my attempt at summarizing some of these brief ideas.
So, thank you, Professor Archana Barua. Now I would like to open this stage for any questions if you have. If you have any questions, you can ask. So I think there is no other questions right now. So I thank you, Professor Archana Barua, for enlightening us with the life and thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi and how it is still very much appropriate to our current life. So I thank you, Professor Archana Barua, for enlightening us with this wonderful lecture. Thank you.
Thank you also, the organizers, for giving me this opportunity, and also particularly Professor Banerjee and the Chemical Engineering Department. And I wish you all the best to the workshop, and thanks.